All right,
Any
so
questions?
any questions back there? Anybody in the hallway? All right, guys, farming versus prospecting. So this is a question that I get asked a lot. You know, like, what's the difference between farming? I hear people saying, hey, you know what, can you create a farm? I want to start farming, or I want to start prospecting. Do you guys know the difference between farming and prospecting, or do you think it's kind of the same thing?
Farming, you're concentrating on a certain area, right?
Yeah.
Prospecting, you just.
Yes,
Call
wherever
you
it
or-
takes you, yeah, and that's exactly right. So when you're farming, you basically, you're assigned a specific area, and you keep going back, and you turn basically what become cold calls or cold door knocks, and then eventually they become warm door knocks, because they start to get to know you. You become the neighborhood realtor, right?
Mhm.
And when the market is actually, you know, a kind of a hot market, when turnovers are 5, 6, 7%, it's a great source of business. What happens is when the market kind of, what happens now, when the market kind of went down, where the turnovers were like at 2.5%, it kind of dies down a little bit. So if people get less motivated because they're not having the success, right? So, but the reality is, you know, even at 3 or 4% turnover, if you could find a good area, like if around where you live, it's great to always have a good farming area around where I live. Because why? I could just walk right outside my door and be knocking like, hey neighbor, and just become the neighborhood neighbor. You know, I got a client that does, you know, $20 million a year, and all he does is his neighborhood. And everybody is the neighbor, right? Like, you know, and he has like, you know, he'll do like wind downs at his house for the neighborhood. You know, let's welcome in our new neighbor, and then he invites all the other neighbors that he sold, and basically that's how he's created such a big following in that neighborhood, you know, which is nice. You know, he could close $20 million a year nowadays, right, and grow sales. But it was strictly done on farming, right? So you start to get to know the neighbors, but more than anything, they start to get to know you. Now, how do we create a farm? So what we like to do, Jessica, let's go ahead and so what do we do? So basically is, let's go down on the slide. Yeah. So, you know, basically extraordinary results come from the decisions we make and the actions we take. Remember, action is what drives us. Emotions don't drive us, feelings don't drive us. So when you create a farm and you say, you know what, I'm gonna commit to knocking, let's say, on 100 doors a day for at least 4 days a week. You know, maybe I'll take Friday off and get ready for my open house on the weekend or whatever. But let's say I'm gonna commit, whatever commitment you do, action is the driver of that. So what does that mean? That means that feelings, and I'm sure you've heard it, feelings don't drive us anywhere. If you don't feel like getting up that morning and door knocking, guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you feel, right? Maybe you might feel great and you go. It's not the fact that you feel great, it's the fact that the action took place. So when you start creating to these farms, or you start saying, hey, I'm gonna start doing this, it's gotta be something that you commit to. Because if you just kind of halfway do a farm, people don't really get to know you. And the goal is so that they can actually get to know who you are, and you know, the fact that you're a neighborhood neighbor. Hey, I don't want to sell right now, but I have some questions, or I have this situation. You become that source of information for the neighborhood, right? So again, the decisions we make and the actions we take. Are you both full? Are you guys full-time realtors?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: how many hours a day are you guys lead generating right now, doing money-making activities?
I want to say about, not a lot, 3 probably.
3?
Mhm.
How about yourself?
A day?
A day?
Yeah, around 3.
Around 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Monday through Friday.
On average. Yeah.
But see, that what's awesome is that you're committed to it, right? And let me ask you this: who are you reaching out to right now? Are you farming or are you prospecting right now?
I'm doing like social media, just posting and reaching out to like friends and family.
Your sphere, your database, and you're kind of doing the same thing too, right? Your database. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna teach you guys how to create a farm, and then how to actually get out there and connect with them. Is that fair? On the next slide, Jess. So the point of contact, so who are we contacts besides your database and your sphere? Because we all know, everybody knows that your database, your sphere is your number one source of business, right? And just by simple numbers, right now, if a database is turning over at 5%, okay, that means that everybody that you know that is of age, they're basically buying or selling at a 5% turnover. So if you have 1,000 people in your database, your sphere of influence, guess how many transactions that is in a year? What's 5% of 1,000? 50. So in 1 year, if you have a database of 1,000 people, that means that people that you know or know you, there's gonna be about 50 transactions in that database alone. So what's our goal, especially as newer agents, what's our goal? Is to grow that database, right? So every time that we're out farming or prospecting, the goal should be to add to my database, to add to my CRM. Now, do you guys have a CRM?
I just moved to this office. I used to. I don't anymore.
Now, they do have a CRM, right? What's the CRM here?
We have
KV Core.
Yeah.
Awesome CRM that you guys have here. How about you?
I'm just putting everything on my app that I have, but not.
No, use a CRM. You know why? Because it allows you to take daily wins. So write that down. Daily wins. Why do we need to have daily wins? Because that's the only thing that's going to keep you going, right? Because if you've been in business for 4 months and you close one deal, and then you start going again, and you're like, holy crap, man, this is driving me nuts. I'm not seeing any results because I don't have another escrow. I don't have another closing. Well, we have to have daily wins in order for us to keep going. So the goal should be to add a minimum of 2 people to your database every single day. That's a win. And then you start doing the math. If I do 2 a day, right, 2 a day, that becomes then how many a week? Let's say 10 per week, which becomes then about 40 a month, which turns to almost 500 per year. So now, if you are having daily wins and you're adding 500 names to your database per year, 10 years from now, because you guys are both young, 10 years from now, how many people would I have in my database?
5,000.
Wow.
Think about this. What does my business look like 10 years from now? Well, I can tell you what it's going to look like if you stay consistent, right? Because now 10 years from now, if you have 10,000 people in your database, right? Or no? 5,000 people, yeah. If you have 5,000 names in your database 10 years from now, now if we take that same, the averages, and we use a 5% turnover on that database of 5,000, how many transactions are in that database?
250.
250 deals. You know those realtors that you hear, oh, that guy does about 100 deals a year? You're like, no way. Well, the guy's not sitting there cold calling like, I'm calling so fast. No, the thing is he's a driver. He took action years before and he's got his database where he needs to be. So the foundation is always going to be our database, our sphere of influence, our CRM. So take advantage of what Champions offers here and use that KV Core. Because I'm telling you, not everybody offers that. It's very expensive, but it's one of the best tools that you will ever have. So your number one homework should be, how can I get my username and password for my KV Core account? Because I need to start adding everybody to my database, and as I'm farming or prospecting, now what's gonna happen? I'm gonna start having daily wins. If I'm calling 3 or 4 people a day, how can I add just 2 more people to my database? Right? So if I'm farming, right, pick up, hey, how's it going? Jesse, you know what, I just wanted to stop by because you know what, I'm your neighbor, you know, and not just whatever. We sold a property here in the last couple of months, just was wondering if for the right price you consider selling yours. You know, start making conversations with these people. And if you have a good conversation with them, you say, hey, you know what, neighbor? I don't have your information. You know what? I like to have all the neighbors' information here. What's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? Get that down. Guess what I just did? I added, that's a win. Whether they tell me they want to sell or not, it doesn't cost me anything to add somebody to the database, right? Don't think that we only take information down for those that tell you, I do want to sell. Because at the end of the day, it's almost free to add them to your database. And again, if you visualize how your career is going to be 10 years from now with 5,000 names in your database, right? If we can visualize that, could you imagine the type of business you're going to be having? How many people do you have in your database right now?
Not a lot.
How about yourself?
So around 50.
50?
Yeah.
People I contact you on a regular basis.
People that you know, that know you. Let's just say people that you know, at one point in time, you've contacted them and you have their information, a phone number, email, and address, you know? And if you don't, when you get your CRM, clean it up. Like, for example, I have your phone number, but I don't have your address. So I'm gonna call you and be like, hey, how's it going? You know what, this is Hugo. I just wanted to call you up because I wanted to send you some information, but I just realized that I don't even have your address. What's your address? Boom, 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 boom. And by the way, what's your email? Boom, 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 boom. I got your, now I have your address, your phone number, your email, right? And here's the thing. I can then touch you at least 50 times a year without getting on your nerves. So imagine if I had 5,000 people like that I could reach out to them 50 times a year without getting on your nerves. Now, how do I do that? Number one, I can call you once a quarter, just once every 4 months, just to see how you're doing, right? So this is a CRM touch when you guys get it. So call one time per quarter. A text message one a month, right? Simple text message. Does that bother somebody when you send us, hey, how's it going? I just was, hoping you had a good new year. Wanted to wish you all the best, blah, blah, blah. One a month. 2 emails per month. Now, sometimes when we subscribe to things, sometimes you get 2 emails per day, right? Oh, there you go. So go back to, 2 emails per month, right? Simple stuff. It could be maybe a transaction that you close. It could be just, an update, a market update, interest rates update. There's other systems out there that are awesome, like HomeBot. There's certain systems that you can actually pay for that are awesome. That'll send out 1 a month for you, and you just have to worry about what's the other one I'm gonna send, right? Social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Social media is awesome because I could just, run ads towards my database, my sphere, or just, shoot out to my people, right? That's already 2 times per month there. What else is there up there, Jesse?
Text message once per month.
Yeah, I got text message. Direct mail. Mail 1 time per quarter. So when you start adding them up, right? So this is gonna be, if we talk about 50 times on averages per year, right? So you're gonna be like 1, 2, this is 3 touches alone, right? Another 3, that's 5, 6, 7 phone calls. So this is 7 alone per month. So you're already at, what's 7 times 12? So it's easy to start connecting with these people. And I always say this, if you have 5,000 people in your database, are you gonna know every single person in that database? No, it's impossible. But if you do your job right, every single one of them is gonna know who you are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have 5,000 people in this room and they're all crowded in here together and I show up and I'm doing a really good job at being in touch with them, every single one of them is gonna look at me and say, that's Hugo. Hey, Hugo. But if you're the one here and every single one starts walking in the door, you're not gonna know more than half of them. You'll be like, I don't know you, because there's just so many of them. But when you're creating the wins, the daily wins, that's what we're doing. We're creating a better CRM, a better database, a better sphere, so that then we can pull from that business. And that's that's what it is of having a strong foundation, and that's why we're prospecting, and that's why we're farming. You guys with me? You guys don't have any eraser here, huh?
I have one in the office, I can grab one.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, oh yeah, and the Popeyes, like for example, we like to do 2 times a year, like if you close some people local, stop by, just say hi. You know, hey, you know what, just was in the neighborhood, I just want to say hi. Why? Because you want to be kind of their friend, right? People will do business with what? Who they like, number one.
Mm-hmm.
You could be the number 1 producing agent in Olive Rancho, but I really like you. I'm gonna do business with you. So that's why I want to create these contacts, and it doesn't cost us anything, guys. And then when we're creating the daily wins, what happens is this: you start saying, "Wow, that's awesome! I just went from 50 people in my CRM this week. I just went to 60." Right? And then you start working that CRM. You're 60, and then the next week, like, "Wow, I just went from 60 to 70. That was a good week." And then what happens? Eventually, things start falling into place. And you're not in the rat race. When we're in the rat race, we're just chasing deals. Trust me, you do not want to just chase deals because it will knock you right out of this business. You'll get so frustrated that the next thing you do, instead of chasing, going knocking on doors to try to get listings, you're going knocking on doors trying to get another job. So don't get stuck with the rat race. Keep a very simple process that you can show up, create, and then go home and feel good about your day, right? And how do we feel good about our day?
Wins.
If I do 4 hours of prospecting a day, and I get my 2 wins because I added 2 people to my database, and I did great at reaching out to all of them, that's a good day. And you're not going crazy. You're not like, oh my God. And you know what? When you get home and the families always ask you, so how many houses did you sell this week? You know, like, really? I've been through that, man. Like, everybody thinks like it's just like, oh, they find out you get your license and they're like, so how many did you sell this week? Really? This week? Man, you'd be like, I gotta lie a little bit. So 3. Now, let's go into farming. Okay, you guys with me?
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do we create a good farm? Jesse, now bring it up. So we use a very specific tool called Pacific Coast Title Toolbox. And we will give you guys access to this, okay? So you will have full access to it. Have you guys seen it before?
Actually, I met, forgot his name. Paul?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he emailed me,
A farm.
his toolbox. No, the toolbox.
Okay. But have you used
I haven't
it?
gotten into it yet.
Well, sit down with us and we'll sit down, we'll go over it with you. Because what we do is this: we create a farm in our neighborhood around where we live, right? So what I like to do is I will take a farm and I will say, okay, I'm gonna take a farm of approximately 1,600 to 2,000 homes. Now people are like, oh my God, that's nuts. That's a lot of houses, right? Well, it depends. Are we full-time or are we part-time, right? If you're part-time, yeah, take a lot less houses. But if I'm a full-time agent, my job is to what? My job is to create conversations with as many people as possible, as long as, as often as possible as I can. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that's a good area right there, Jesse. Let's do that. There you go. So let's say Jesse does that area, right? So we're gonna find about 1,600 to 2,000 homes. So this is, what city is this, Jesse?
Upland, right on the
So
street.
this is a city in Upland. Let's say you live here in this area.
Almost 4,000.
Okay, that's too big then. Cut it in half. So again, we don't want to go too big because we want to get to know the neighborhood. Yeah, let's see how many are in there. So we could get a count there.
15.
Perfect. Let's do this one. So let's say that area. Save that query, Jess. Save it so we can. So let's say you got 1,500 homes. And almost as it's kind of blocked off, you see how you have the 4 squares?
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide that by 4 weeks. Okay? So So I got 1,500 homes in my farm. Let's say you live in that area, right? So Jesse, what's the turnover for that area in Upland? If you can give it to me when you get a chance. So I wanna know what's, is it a hot market? Is it a hot area? Is it, obviously if it's a super nice neighborhood, just like you think it's a super nice neighborhood, a lot of the people that live there think it's a super nice neighborhood too, right? So it's not, the turnover is not so great. So don't be too impressed of the neighborhood. Let's look at, is it accessible, number one, to where I live, to where I could almost walk out of my house and I'm, like I said, I am a neighbor. You almost wanna be that neighbor, right? Because it gets you in with these people. They like the fact that you're living here. You're just not trying to make money off of their neighborhood. So the turnover here is
2.38.
2.38. 2.38%. You see how we talk about turnovers and the importance of them. So at 2.38%, and you said there's 1,500 homes, Jesse?
Yeah.
How many home sales were there?
36.
36 sales. So in 1 year, there's 36 listings in this neighborhood. And obviously, was yesterday kind of an off year for listings? It was, right? So 2.38, that's a very low turnover area. Maybe you might want to move up to the side, find something with a little bit more turnover, depending on what it is. But we're just gonna use this just for, to kind of go over certain things.
What's a good turnover rate?
Right now, in today's market, you're around 4%. Yeah. It used to be where we could find them at 7 and 8%. But again, right now, the way the market is, you're looking right around 4%. But remember, the goal is this. The goal is even if in this farm, and this is what I want to show you, there's still, in 1 year, there's 36 listings in a very low market year, right? So if we take these 36 listings, see the number of homes, 1,500 homes, there's 36 sales, there's 21% that are rentals, right? You guys see these numbers?
Yep.
Look at your average price. That's a nice deal, no? 709,000 on the average. So what am I gonna do? So I'm gonna be week number 1, week number 2, week number 3, and week number 4, right? Now, my goal is this, to always be farming, to always be either in this area, in this area, in this area, and this area in these weeks, right? Always be showing up, always be knocking on doors, always be trying to make conversations. You know what, I just want to stop by, bring in a market update. Everybody likes market updates, listing, sales, closings, that kind of stuff. So what are we doing to create these conversations? Because at the end of the day, if I am so consistent in these areas and I'm meeting everybody in that area and that farm, in a very off year, I got 36 listings. Now, how good was I that year? What kind of market share did I get? Right? The first ones are more difficult because you're not really well known in there yet. But what starts to happen when all of a sudden your sign goes up here, another sign goes up here, another sign goes up here, another sign goes up here. What starts to happen to my business? All of a sudden, I go from out of these 36, maybe my first year I get 5 listings. I'd be like, that's a lot of work for 5 deals. But then what do? We start leveraging that business, right? And the following year, maybe I do 10 listings. Now, just 10 listings alone in a farm, that's a good farm, I would think, right? 10 deals, 100 grand, just to be farming right outside my door where I live. I want you guys to, think about this. And this is what I'm saying. Now, if eventually I could get to know the entire neighborhood, Jesse, go to the farm. So let's do a walking farm.
For all of it?
Yeah. Now here's the cool thing. I want to create this farm, right? So I'm going to get to know everybody. So I'm going to do a walking farm. coming?
It's a
It's
lot of-
walking.
It's a lot of,
There's
yeah.
a lot of walking,
A lot of walking.
a lot
It's
of walking going on here.
The walking farm, you can do it by your square.
So what happens, yeah, so what we do is we
For the
would
weed
actually
killer.
do that. So we will actually, once you do your whole farm, then you actually can do a separate farm. You could be like farm number 1, farm number 2, farm number 3, and farm number 4. And then even better, it's not going this, go back.
It's a bunch just loading.
So what happens is then I start to create nothing.
Oh, let me redo it. They're smaller.
Do walking, do number 1, like for instance,
Yeah.
let's do number 1, that area. So then what happens is, okay, this is my area, and I'm gonna do, say, week number 1, week number 2, week number 3. So remember, week 1 of the month, I'm here, week 2 of the month, I'm here, 3, and I'm here, and I'm here. But the cool thing is this, with Pacifico's Title Toolbox, not only do we create a walking farm, but I can also use Title Toolbox and get the data. I could find out the cell numbers for these people, the emails for these people, right? So now I can show up at your door, I can call you, I can text you, and my entire farm, I could even run ads towards your cell numbers, see who, on Facebook, you could pull a phone number up, and whoever that phone number is attached to or email, it comes up. So you kind of do the same thing, but you start running ads towards them. So all of a sudden, these 36 deals, you start looking pretty appealing to some of these people, because they're always seeing you, right? They're always seeing you. You're always in their neighborhood. You're working the neighborhood. You start seeing the signs, right? And they start really liking that.
There's 370 in
In that area, okay, so get it? So that they can see what the walking farm is. Now, the walking farm is done based on the streets. So it'll give you like everybody on that street, then it goes to the next one, it'll give you everybody on that street. So you just have to get this to the street, and it gives you everybody's name. So I could knock on your door and talk to you by name. I could know if you're a rental or an owner occupied. So I would know everything on that farm, right? It's just a matter of me making those conversations with these people and actually being out there every single day, right? The question is, again, remember, what drives the actions that we take, not how we feel, not the feelings that we have. I don't feel like doing it today, Feelings don't give me any money, feelings don't give me paid, right? So what I'm gonna do is, did it come up, Jess?
No, it won't let me pull it, it's just that I'm at my.
All right, so, well, it'll give it to you, probably because of the internet, but, so here's another thing that I would like to do. So I would like to do, you see the new possible leads or there you go, click on that. I would also know, in that area, I have 6 affidavit of death recordings.
So this is in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
There we go. So in the last 3 months,
And somebody bought it cash. So let's just do the 12, Jesse, so I can find out the whole thing. Right? I got 3 people that got a lien attached to their property, right? 2 people that bought cash, and look, there's 1 notice of default. So guess what? I start to know what's going on in the neighborhood too. And if they know me, and I know you're losing your house, and I am the neighborhood expert, I'm gonna knock on your door. Because they're just that alone, it's about 20% probability that they're gonna actually sell.
by the way, if you are interested in, say, the notice of default lead, you can click directly on it. It says buy. For 5 cents, you get access to the notice of default.
A nickel. A nickel. Come on.
It's expensive.
Do I mail it in or what?
You can also
Write you a
get
check.
realist for free.
Can I,
Yeah, so you guys know that, right? Like on the realist, my name's Aurelia, by the way, Lala. Yeah, you can get it on the realist. You could do a search for free. We have that as realtors, by the way.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
realist,
Realist tax?
Yeah, you could pull it. That's what I used to do back in the days. Well, I still do, but I mean, I'm just sorry, right?
Oh, no, you're good.
To recommend,
Anything that we can do to help, yeah.
yeah, that's free, but this will probably be an enhanced version.
Yeah, because it is, but at the end of the day, this was gonna pinpoint which one it is in your farm.
Absolutely.
That's the whole thing, you
That's
know?
the beauty of it.
And again, if it was like a divorce filing, if there was a divorce filing and this particular farm, it would say there's a divorce filing, an affidavit of death, and then notice the default, right? So there's different, which ones are they? Show us the leads, Jesse.
Hold on, I just reset it.
So what happens is you start to really get to know your neighborhood, and then you start to really pinpoint, okay, you know what, in week one, that farm, I got 2 notice of defaults that I better start visiting like a lot. Because not only do they know me, but I wanna make sure they choose me when it comes time for them to sell, right? So again, all of a sudden you start taking 5 and then you start to dominate, and then people won't even start going into your farm because I see that guy's sign everywhere in there. Like, I don't even wanna deal with that. Let me go find another farm. And then they go to another farm because they don't wanna deal with you, right? So farming, so you bring it up?
Yeah, but now it's for all 1,500.
Oh. Did you see what's out there?
Yeah.
Let's see what's out there. But this tool is awesome. Seriously, awesome tool. Because it starts to, so here you go. So look at in this entire farm, there's 23 affidavit of death recordings. So that means there's 23 homes alone in this farm where somebody on title has passed away, right? 15 that have a new lien on the property, 7 were cash buyers, there's 4 notice of defaults here in this area, 2 probates, there's already 2 notice of trustee sales, and 1 filed for bankruptcy. And again, it's not about you knocking on their door saying sucks to be you, you know? But you're gonna know, I just need to knock on this door a little bit more often, right? And that's the bottom line, is putting myself in front of these people a lot more, especially if I become the king or queen of this farm. And it's usually around where you live, you know, that I would like to know, right? Now, what's the difference between farming? So can you see how farming can help you generate listings? It can help you stay consistent because you're gonna be so close to home, right? I would so much do a farm like around where you live or where you live. I don't know, do you wanna see your area? See how that one works? Go around her city, Jesse. Let's do Corona.
Corona?
Mhm.
For the entire city or?
No, her address, around her address, just to see what's out there. So let's say yours, we'll do like a little play farm on hers, so that you can see kind of what we're talking about, and we can see what the turnover is in your area as well.
Okay.
25,
25
08,
08.
Fairland,
Fine.
Place.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, just follow that one all the way to Foothill, Jesse,
Yeah.
and then you take it all the way to Fullerton.
Oh, yeah. So,
Let's find out how many are there. Huh?
that's good.
Yeah.
That's usually it.
Let's find out count. So we have
Almost 1,200.
1,200. So let's say you divide that one into 12 pieces, right? A little bit more manageable. So let's find out what the turnover is in that area, around your area. Get the dynamic stats. You guys know where to go. So once you get the farm, you save it, you hit the dynamic stats, and that's gonna give you the turnover.
And you say you want it around 4%?
Well, a good turnover area is 4%, but you wanna do it right by where you live. I mean, because if it's like, it's supposed to rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or something like that. So a lot of people won't get in their car and go somewhere where they think it's gonna work. Unless your farm is like right here, you say, well, I'm just gonna go door knock and I'll door knock until it rains. So it's where you live, and also when you could call your neighbor, hey neighbor, I just wanna stop by again and say hi, just it works wonders when you're,
When
when
I'm
you're,
at the grocery store.
when you're running, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
You're the guy that keeps leaving the flyers.
They're picking them up.
Was like,
Pretty
well,
good.
last year we had an agent that lives in Fontana,
Mhm.
right, to ask us for a farm in Long Beach.
Mhm.
And it's like, are you really gonna be driving out
Yeah,
there?
that's
You know,
really, really far.
if you have a potential buyer or seller that call you saying, hey, you know, can you
Get out
meet me
here
today?
now. Yeah.
Can you meet me in the next hour? You're gonna have to make that drive in the next hour to hopefully.
And you're gonna make every
Get them out
excuse
there.
as to why it's not a,
Okay, you know, it's not really worth it.
Yeah,
At the end
yeah,
of the
so
day.
always do it around where you live.
yeah.
But you can see, this is where the market is. Look at the turnover, 2.39%. Right, the other one was 2.35. So that's the market right now. That's why I said a really good one is like 4%, but because that's just the driver right now. But you know what? This year, if we start getting more properties on the market, the number's gonna go up. Because remember, when we talk turnover, we talk what? We talk history, it's past. So I always tell people, this is history. Well, it doesn't mean that it's always gonna be at 2.39%. It just means over the last year is what it is, 2.39%. But we're hoping that we get, more properties on the market this year, and we have a little bit more inventory. So hopefully that number will start crawling up. So you might as well be a part of the, a part of the plan of growing that number and create these farms. How many the 12 month, what do we have? So is that a farm that's like fairly easy for you to get to?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy for you to get to it. I'm telling you, that's the perfect thing. So when you're able to get to a farm, and it takes all the worry, all the wondering, do I have to, I don't even have gas in my car because I haven't closed anything, Like, I'll be like, God dang it, how am I gonna get over there, But the whole thing is, it's cool, but you can just walk out.
I was just wondering because some people tell me it's kind of like better when you go with somebody than just going by yourself.
Well, you know what, it could be better, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's why a farm is something where you start to get to know the people too. You start to get to know the neighborhood. Who door, what, I ain't knocking on this door. This guy's a weirdo or whatever, right? But maybe the first couple of times, ask a lender or something that can partner up with you, that can go out there. Especially, you got people that might want to refinance with it.
Yeah, and actually a lender would be a good idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
So here you go. So check it out. In your area, a lot of cash buyers. You have 19 cash buyers. The reason that they put that as a possible lead is because these people technically a lot of times they're flippers, investors. They buy cash and they just kind of rehab and want to sell it or whatever. 17 with new liens, 9 affidavit of debt, 3 notice of defaults, 2 list pendants filings. You guys know what a list pendant is? A list pendant is just some kind of court action going on. Okay, something's going on there with that property. So they're having some kind of issue.
Litigation.
1 bankruptcy and 1 probate, right? And that's just in your neighborhood, 1,200 homes. And again, 1,200 homes, you divide it by 4, you're talking about 300 homes per week that you would have to hit, right? And it's manageable, right? And again, from there, you start managing your farm, people start getting to know you around where you live, start showing up, start walking the dog, start smiling at everybody. And then, look, there's a realtor right there,
Your neighborhood.
There's no neighborhood realtor. I'm telling you, I got agents that make a killing around where they live because everybody knows them. They just like, that's all they did. So now they're like, so now let's say that in this area, so we found that out, but Jesse, let's say that now I want to give for the same area, everybody's cell phone and email. Right? Because I can also call you. I can also text you. I can also email you, right? So you go to Premier Data, once you create the farm.
That doesn't include DNCs, right, do not call. I mean, those are all filtered through.
Prescribed,
right?
prescribed.
Okay, good.
And then you just basically would click on that and you just ask for phone numbers and emails. You purchase the phone numbers and emails. And what does it cost per phone number?
It is 5 cents per phone number and 7 cents per email.
So check it out. So your total charge would be about $140. Can you invest $140 into your actual farm? Because remember, it's not like you're gonna be contacting it all the time. You're not gonna be pulling those numbers. You know what? You get the numbers and you use it for the whole year.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by then you start going out and updating people's numbers once you start talking to them, right? And I mean, it's cheap. Pay the investment. you know? You could write it off anyways.
And that's for both phones and emails. If you want just the phone numbers,
So it's like you said $100
Right.
for.
140 for both.
it's,
Both numbers.
100.
there you go. It's $58 for just the cell phone numbers.
Wow, that's good.
Emails are verified or,
Mhm.
No, well, it's all data,
Oh.
you know, you gotta remember this, it's a good email, based, you know, on that person's
for
essentially.
7 cents, you can take that risk.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. So that's farming, okay? Now we get into prospecting. You guys have any questions on the farming? Pretty good stuff, no?
Mhm.
I mean, it kind of opens your eyes to like how easy this business really is if we just start focusing rather than, like I said, stop chasing deals. If we start chasing deals, man, I mean, you're over here and then you're over here and then you're over here, and you're like, holy shit, I haven't caught anything, you know? But when you just stay focused to your game, show up and do the action, and eventually people, you'll be like, oh, I just put another one on the board. I just put another
Oh,
one.
I had a question for
Sure.
you. So, and I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but just to confirm, we can import those, like we have KV core.
Absolutely,
So those we can easily get
yes.
Yeah.
imported.
Yeah, it'll be everything that you export from here.
Uh-huh.
It'll be sent to you in a CSV, so you can
Okay.
take that directly into KV Core,
Oh,
take that directly into Facebook,
Uh-huh.
any kind of program that
Oh,
that
perfect,
will utilize
Yeah.
it.
beautiful.
So now we go, okay, that's farming, where you take the whole area, right? And you say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on this area and that's it. But now we go into prospecting, kind of like what we were talking at the beginning. Well, what's the difference? Well, prospecting, you're always gonna be cold contacting people. You're always gonna be cold contacting people, but guess what? At the end of the day, it doesn't get warm, but it gets good when you get good. Why? Because I can prospect towards very high turnover property owners, right? So for example, who would I prospect towards? Number one, I would actually focus on, and write these down, I would focus on notice of defaults. And by the way, you could get all these leads through Pacifico's Title Toolbox,
Mhm.
right? So this would be my number one prospect. So guess what? If I'm in the city of Upland or if I'm in the city and there's 40 active NODs, what's my turnover on 40 active NODs? You know what the turnover is on NODs? It's about 20%. So that means you're gonna have about 10 deals here alone. Right? Why don't I get good at that? Now it's a cold contact every time, but if I get really good at contacting, but then following up, which is where the money is made, now I'm prospecting. Now I'm having conversations with a lot of different homeowners because now I can take 40 NODs from Upland, 40 from Rancho, 40 from Corona, 40 from Riverside, 40 from North, you know what I'm saying? I can focus. And this number just going up and up and up on honey. So over here, when I did the thing, there was 36 transactions. Guess what? I could get to 36 transactions real quick with this. Real quick, right? So that's your number one source of prospecting.
You
Huh?
said, sorry, cut you off. You said earlier, notice of defaults are going up as well.
Yeah, there was a 43% increase of notice of defaults after the new year, right?
Yeah, from
This year?
from
Yeah.
COVID, yeah.
43% increase.
Just starting this year.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see more and more and more because when people are just getting in debt, man, they don't even, they realize that they don't make as much money as they're spending, right? And by then it just becomes too late.
Yeah.
The people always say, oh, but there's not a lot of notice of defaults because you know what? People got good loans. Nobody's saying they don't have a good loan. They just can't pay for that good loan. When you don't got $1,000 in your pocket and your payment's $1,000, I don't care how good that loan is, you can't pay that $1,000. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
We've all been broke, right? Sometimes you're like, oh my God, dang, I got $5 for that?
Yeah.
And you take out and you got like $3, you're like, damn, I ain't gonna, you know? So what does it matter? The number, this is the reality. And 20% will actually close escrow. So think about that on NODs, right? Next, number two, who am I gonna target when I'm prospecting? Your affidavit of death. Why? Why an affidavit of death? Because these people have what?
They
They have
have
what?
siblings, they need to, we're not siblings, but heirs.
They have heirs. If it's a spouse, if it's a
Yes,
surviving
yes.
spouse, they have a hardship.
Yes.
There's hardship
Yes.
there. So like, let's say that you have a husband and a wife and one of the spouses passes away, there's always gonna be hardship for that other person.
Yeah.
Right? Guess what? But now if both of the parents have passed away, there's no hardship for the kids, because the kids are like, hell yeah, we're selling this bad boy, right?
That's a big
There's
topic.
sales there. Trust me, there's sales. So if an affidavit of death is turning over out of same thing, 15 to 20%, let's say about 15%. Now, again, you got about 7 deals out of every 40. And let's say that I'm in the same area. I'm gonna be stuck here in Upland or in Corona around where I live, right? Because you could do this wherever city you want to do it in, because it's prospecting. It's always looking for new leads, new people to contact. Number 3, divorce filings. What if I start prospecting towards divorce filings specifically as well? If I file for divorce, what are the chances that I'm gonna have to sell my house? What are the odds? I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a lot more than 20%.
85%.
Yeah.
85%?
So it's about 60 to 70% depending on the area. And right now, and that's just because there's a lot of good loans out there, so people are figuring out how to keep it at least, right? But let's say 6 in every 10 on a low case. 6 in every 10. Why am I chasing other people around, right? So now, again, 6 in 10, let's just say there's 10 in the entire city. Now I'm at 6 deals, right? Now, again, people say, man, how do you even hit a divorce filing? Well, it's not like I said, you don't go there and hey, what did she do to you, man? What did he do? I knew it.
I knew it.
Right? It's not about that. It's about leveraging, because you know what? If I'm leveraging, eventually we start doing business and then I'll be like, hey, Mr. Homeowner, my name's Hugo, I'm with Remax Champions. You know what? I just sold one of your neighbor's properties and we got top dollar for it. I was just wondering if for the right price, you'd consider selling yours. I'm not asking if you're getting divorced, but guess what? Your head is turning right now saying, you know what? I might have to sell it. Which one did you sell? Oh, I just sold this one, ABC 123 Street. You know what? For the right price, would you sell yours? I have a price in mind. What price did you have in mind? Well, why don't we do this? I don't mind. Why don't we get together? We can go over the numbers. I could share with you the price that I feel your property will sell for in today's market. You try to make the appointment, right? But these are deals. They're deals there. Now, again, it takes you a little bit out of your element, because now I'm having to revisit new people all the time. Eventually the farm turns, all warm and fuzzy, where you're like, hey, neighbor, hey, neighbor, everybody loves you. But right here, they're like, hey, get out of my front yard. It's a big difference. But if you play your cards right and you get good at it, guess what? There's a lot of money here. Next one, number 4. You guys writing these down?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Number 4. Expires. Oh no. Expires. Is there a lot of expires right now?
Yeah.
There sure is. So imagine if I knocked on their doors as well. So basically, let's say these 4 groups, I find all of them in the city of Corona. The entire city, I find every NOD, every affidavit, every divorce filing, and every expired. Find them all. And then I'm gonna go ahead and purchase this app called Circuit. Write it down, Circuit. And I might have about, let's say in all of these, maybe 30 homeowners, 40 homeowners, right? Depending on how many I find. But basically, I could use that app Circuit, punch in all the addresses in there, and it's gonna basically show me the route, the easiest route. So I don't have to go from one side of Corona all the way to the other side of Corona and come all the way back and then go, you know what? Just gonna give me a nice route. You're gonna go visit. And what are you gonna do? You find the house that you're gonna knock on because you know that they're losing it, but I'm gonna start 2 houses to the left, knock on that one, knock on the other one, hit the one that I'm supposed to knock on, knock extra hard if they don't open that one, and then you go to the next one and the next one so they don't think you're creeping on them, right? And you get in your car and you go to the next one, right? But can you see how this can make you a lot of money?
Mhm.
You know how when you come here and you're like, oh, who do I call? What do I do?
Mhm.
Man, what am I gonna do today? There's no thing, because now, remember the thing we did like this, the 4 X's on the farm? Now, this is what my farm would look like. Corona, Riverside, Rancho, Dublin. But I'm targeting specific targets within those cities. Right? So you can be right outside your door with a farm, creating farm conversations. Look where the turnover is gonna come up. You're gonna get, again, 36 deals in the year. Or you can then do this and you can start driving. You could be a driver. And there's other people to target, right? Because number 5 that we like to target is 20 plus year absentee owners. 20 plus year. Why do we want to target 20 plus year absentee owners?
Ready to sell.
Why? Why do you think they're ready to sell?
Downgrade.
Retire.
downsize.
Number 1, they're already tired. They don't want to deal with tenants anymore. You know, I was in Lake Havasu the other day and I got a call, 2 tenants, 2 houses, AC blown on both of them. You know what? Luckily, I had a lot of alcohol in me and I took it pretty good.
And then you had a third.
But you know what? These homeowners, they're almost retired. They don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. So you have a property owner that has owned an investment property for well over 20 years plus. The house is already in this deterioration, right? So a lot of stuff going on with the house that they don't want to deal with. The client is already close to retirement mode. Maybe he just wants to sell it, cash out, and just enjoy his money, right? What other reason do they want to sell after 20 years? There's a thing called depreciation. Whenever you have investment properties, you can depreciate single-family residence for 27 years. So after 27 years, there's no more depreciation. So guess what? Time to sell it and buy something that you can depreciate. Therefore, you'll do a 1031 exchange, right? So there's multiple reasons why these people will have to sell these properties. It's just that they're such a good contact, man, a great contact. Now, I'm not just talking about absentee owners. I'm talking about 20 plus year absentee owners. There's a big difference, right? But you can get cell numbers, emails. This is it, Jesse?
No, well, that's for all of Corona right there,
What's that?
the numbers for the past 12 months.
Oh, there you go. 385 affidavit of deaths, 145 notice of defaults
Wow, that's it
in
right
12
there.
months.
I would say, so I pulled up the report that I got sent yesterday. So California had almost 33,000 notice of default filings
Wow.
for just 2023 alone.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of,
people say, it's funny because people say, oh, there's no notice of defaults anymore.
there's foreclosures.
I always say it
out there.
doesn't matter. If there's a few, there's, you know what? 100, just in Corona, 145, what's 20% of 145 filings?
30 or 27.
You're pretty good, bro.
Yeah.
He's like,
I always ask,
calculator.
hey, I always ask the same thing. I'm just like, you know what? That's why I'm in
Yeah,
sales.
yeah.
I was never good at that.
Yeah.
You know? So think about it. Just in the NODs in Corona, if I would have just been so aggressively targeted, just NODs, there's 27 transactions. Remember the farm that we did? There was 36. But let's just say I just went heavy on the NODs. That's it. 145 homeowners. There's about 27 to 30 deals there alone. Alone. We're not even talking about the affidavit of deaths.
Divorces.
Look at 69 notice of trustee sales.
There's
Is that,
actually
the divorces, is that, the?
7 divorce
7
filings.
divorce.
Yeah,
love truffles and these.
right.
You know, divorces.
But the whole thing, I mean, you get what I'm saying,
Yes.
right? But now, again, so number 5, 20+ year absentee owner. The cool thing is you can grab cell number and email data because they don't live there. So it's not like you could go knock on their door. But imagine if I could just say, let me pick up the phone and let me call the 20+ year absentee owners, right? And let's say that I call you and you don't answer. I shoot you a simple text message. I'm gonna share with you what works. Let's see.
In the city of Corona, there's 7,567 renters
Wow.
out of a total of 50,000.
How many thousand?
7,500.
But we want 20+ years, so just a little bit less. So check it out. So I call you, you're an absentee owner, and I just sold something, because I'm a top producer by now, right? I don't care if I sold one house in all of Corona. The next one I sell in Corona, and you're an absentee owner, I try to call you and say, hey neighbor, just, I just sold a property next to your investment here in Corona. Just wondering for the right price, you consider selling that investment you have over here, right? Let's say that they don't answer you because only 1 in 10 answers. You guys been cold calling, right? Only 1 in 10 answers. But then you have this really
Yes.
cool text message that follows it up because they didn't answer. And this is how it reads. And if you want this, I'll share it with you. Good morning, neighbor. The reason for my call was to let you know that I just sold one of our neighbor's properties for top dollar. Wanted to ask if for the right price you consider selling yours. Let me know if you would like to know the price I have in mind. So imagine you live somewhere away from that rental and somebody texts you a message like that because you didn't know who the phone number was. How easy would it be for you to respond saying, what price did you have in mind? Right? So all of a sudden, we're creating conversations with people that are just they have a need and they have a want. And they're like, just give me a number. Let me see what I have to work with. But then what is the best thing to do? Pick up the phone and say, look, I need to go over some numbers with you. I need to go see the property, number 1. But I also want to share these numbers with you. That way I can make sure that the number is good for both you and me, That way we can see if it's something that might be worth for you. But let's say they live out of state. And here's the cool thing. Let's say they have multiple properties.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, instead of 1 listing, I have a client that did 6 listings on 1 call from somebody that moved to Texas and just wanted to move all their properties to Texas. It's a good call,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? But again, if we create a simple process, don't overthink it, because once we start overthinking it, I leave here, you guys like, oh my God, that was cool, that was awesome. And then somebody else comes in, or you look at something in social media that says, you know what, you don't have to do jack, sit in your sofa, you make millions. You're like, oh, I'd rather do that, right? But that's how easily we get distracted from things that work. Now, is there work that is required for this to work? Absolutely, absolutely.
That's 20+ years right there. You have 1,641
In,
in Corona.
check it out, 1,641 homeowners in Corona.
Wow.
Man, I'd be like,
That's a gold mine.
dialing for dollars,
Yeah, that's a
Hey,
gold mine.
hey, send out the message, hey, right? Eventually, people are gonna bite. But if I'm not putting myself in that position of success, remember, Corona, working it this way, then what is it gonna do? So number 6, write this one down. I can't even see this anymore. 30+ year absentee owners.
There's 190 that live out of state in Corona.
190
Out of
homeowners
state. Of the
and
20+
20+
years.
year homeowner?
That's it right there.
190 people, they don't even live in California. This morning, there's a property in Austin, Texas that I'm reaching out. There's 4 units and they want like $959,000. And it's in Austin, Texas, a good property. So I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this. You know, it's a 3 and 3 2s. So I sent out information, right? Imagine if the guy lives in Texas and he's got these properties here. You have people from here while you're looking out. So these guys are gonna be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me do a 1031. Let me just move my real estate closer to where I'm at.
Yeah, and a lot of people are selling their properties here and going out of state exactly to do that.
And
For
there's,
rentals.
right down the middle, that's the state that they live in. So you have Nevada,
New England, well, no,
Arizona,
what's-
Texas, Washington, Arizona,
Also, it even.
South Dakota,
Wow.
Illinois, Iowa, Texas, Tennessee.
Yeah, they're all leaving California.
So think about that, right? So that's why, again, this is prospecting. We're not coming out of our, you know, just getting to know all the neighbors. We're targeting these people. We're making them target. So we're cold calling, we're cold door knocking, we're doing that kind of stuff. All right? How about 30 plus year homeowners? How many is there in Corona, Jesse?
30 plus.
I have a question.
Sure.
So for us, it's kind of like starting, and you kind of mentioned the tax about, you have sold the property. How could we kind of like start that we haven't listed the property?
That you have not
Yeah,
listed?
I haven't had like,
Well, here's the beauty about working for Remax Champions. There's a lot of producers here, and I'm sure they've sold something in Corona in the last 3 months, 4 months.
Mhm.
All you gotta do is say, here's a property that we sold, and everybody that you knock on the door and say, hey neighbor, we just sold
mhm,
this property. Why? Because again, you're part of the team here.
okay.
So it puts you in a position of leveraging. So whenever you're in a position of leveraging towards these people, I don't come to you, you don't feel like I got my hand in your pocket already trying to take your money. No, it becomes more of like, here, I'm here as a source of information. We just sold your neighbor's property for top dollar. You know, I just was wondering if for the right price, you consider selling yours.
Mhm.
Wait for them to see what they answer.
Mhm.
No, I'm not interested in selling. Okay, well, you know what? Let me ask you this. If you were to sell, where would you move to? Well, if I were to sell, I kind of like Texas. Oh, really? But when would you like to be over there? You start making those contacts, those conversations,
Mhm.
you know? But again, it all starts with, and then also open houses. Like, I would look for open houses like crazy in Corona and you in Rancho.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your listing.
Mhm.
Look for open houses because now I can go, depending if I'm gonna target these people in Corona, guess what? I go back to all these people and I invite them to my open houses. Imagine, everybody's about to lose their house. Guess what? I'm gonna invite you to my open house. Why? Because I just wanna make conversations with you, right? I'm that guy that's doing business in your neighborhood that you're gonna need. That's why this is prospecting.
And actually here, like we have Remax Pulse, so on there you can put that you're open to hosting an open house.
Okay.
And then some agents might not be available that weekend, say I'm available these weekends, and you'll be surprised how many people will say yes to that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of agents here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
open houses is great source of business, especially for newer agents, because again,
Yes.
it gives you something to leverage, because like you asked, what if I haven't sold anything? But whenever I have something to leverage, it gives me a reason to knock on somebody's door or make a phone call.
And they
the
don't
same-
know that.
They don't know that.
They don't know that you haven't sold anything. You know that,
Mhm.
you know, so.
And here's the real deal. Let's say that I'm calling the 20 plus year, like I get my open house on the 20, you just call the 20 plus year homeowners, right?
Mhm.
Hey neighbor, you know what? I was actually calling you because I'm holding an open house near your investment property here in Corona. And I was just wondering if I get multiple buyers coming through here, have you ever thought about selling your property? For the right price, would you consider selling yours? Well, if the right buyer comes along, you know, guess what? That's somebody I'm gonna be talking to, right? And that's why we start creating these prospecting habits. And that's the difference between farming and prospecting. So the choice is yours, what route you wanna take, but you gotta start taking some kind of action. Social media is awesome, but it ain't gonna make you rich. I'll tell you that right now. You need to start creating that audience. I always tell people, you know who does extremely well is number one, if your videos start taking off, right? Obviously it does happen, but it's a rarity. Number two, once you start creating your remember everybody we talk to, daily wins, adding to my database, that becomes your audience. So when you start creating videos, your audience starts to see those videos, and it's just an added touch to making sure that I'm reaching out to them.
Mhm.
And that's where you start, but it's all in the conversation. It's like you guys, I could come by, drop my business card on your desk, but if you never met me, or if we never conversated, it does nobody any good. You have to be able to connect with those that are doing business with you, right? Because that way, number one, you feel comfortable, and number two, like, hey, you know what? I trust this person. I trust that, you know what, he's gonna come through or she's gonna come through. They feel that and they sense it. So that's why, again, it's nice to create that conversation. You guys have any questions? Any questions over there? No? Okay. Anybody in the back over there, questions? No?
They're prospecting.
Yeah, it's over here.
I just wanted to offer too that like when you start this, it takes time. You know, it's great if you get it like right away, but you know, the thing is patience because it's repetitive. And then you start to learn your own conversion rate. Like,
And then you get good
Yeah.
at actually speaking the scripts, what
Yes.
works for you, what works for your personality, you know? So that stuff gets a little bit better, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it just depends on how aggressive you wanna get. You know, you brought up that information of, you know, you hear that it's not good for you to go by yourself. So maybe you wanna work on a farm where eventually you're still close to home and people know who you are, and they can kinda, oh yeah, that's her, you know, it's a little different rather than going city to city, different homes. But maybe you might be a little more aggressive and you might say, you know what, no, I'm gonna go for the, you know, these people and this is who I'm gonna target because the bottom line, they don't like me in my neighborhood, so I'm gonna go somewhere else. So the bottom line is we wanna create conversations. The bottom line, guys, we have to create conversations, whether you're gonna be farming or prospecting, okay? But let's sit down. Jesse, are you available one-on-ones with these people to continue the conversation? If you want to continue the conversation, if you want to continue all this stuff, sit down with us. We do a lot of business. We close a lot of business. And the number one reason is because I'm very listing minded. My agents do listings, period. So I'm very big on creating listing dominant farms or teaching them or moving them towards a direction to be more listing minded. Because naturally, when we get our real estate license, you don't think about what even a listing agent is. Nobody even knows. You're just like, oh, I just want to sell a house to somebody. And then you come over here and you start realizing, man, the top producers are the ones that are doing listings. What are they doing? Right? So that's the bottom line is let's get into that path. There's less competition because not everybody likes to do this. Right? Not everybody, does everybody like to do this? No, right?
no, you know, what I would like to offer too is like pick what works for you, like what you like to do. Because if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, it's not gonna happen. So if you like to door knock and, you know, do certain ways, then it's better to stick to that. Or if you love open houses, because you have to pick, I always say, pick three things that you like to do, to prospect or farm, because
And open
otherwise
houses,
it's not gonna feel good.
yeah, open houses
Yeah.
are awesome again because
Yes.
it allows you to keep leveraging something new and fresh.
Yeah.
Like if I hit all the NODs in the city of Corona, well, why am I gonna go back and hit them again next week? What other reason do I have? Well, I have an open house. I want to invite you to this open house. Oh, I have another open house. Now I want to invite you to this one, you know? So it keeps you coming back. So open houses are always awesome to leverage. So yeah, get in that mode and then get in this leveraging package mode. Okay?
Okay.
So let's have a great year, guys.
Yeah,
And
thank
reach out to us.
Thank you. So I got here a little